Patrick Mahomes weighing in on what happened during the NFL draft set off a firestorm across social media, with fans and analysts divided over whether the league's biggest star had crossed a line. His one-word reaction to a quarterback's historic slide rattled enough people that it raises the question of whether speaking your mind as an active player carries real consequences. It was late on a Friday night, April 25, 2025, and day 2 of the NFL draft was wrapping up. Mahomes, 29, posted on X at 11 p.m. ET. Round 3 of the NFL draft was just being completed at the time, and to almost everybody's shock, quarterback Shedeur Sanders was still not taken. Mahomes took to X to share one word, crazy, without any context. However, fans instantly knew that he was reacting to Shedeur's unfortunate news. That's it. One word, no tag, no explanation, no paragraphs. Just crazy. The biggest story of the 2025 NFL draft hadn't been anyone the Kansas City Chiefs, or one of the 31 other teams had selected, but rather the biggest name available who remained unselected. Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders, once thought of as a top 10 pick, remained without a team after the first 3 rounds, in one of the more fascinating and polarizing falls from grace in the history of American football. Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders, once projected as the #1 overall pick, and who only last weekend had his uniform number retired in Boulder, was bypassed in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. 5 quarterbacks heard their names called before Sanders. With the #1 overall pick, the Tennessee Titans selected Cam Ward and gave him permission to wear Warren Moon's jersey number. 24 picks later, the New York Giants traded back into the first round with the Houston Texans to draft Jackson Dart. Ward and Dart were selected in the first round. Schuff got selected in the second round, while Milroe and Gabriel heard their names called in the 3rd round. All 5 went before Shedeur Sanders. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes could only stare in disbelief as names came off the board before Sanders. Mahomes has seen a lot in the NFL, and this fall was still stunning enough to get him worked up on social media. The internet split in half. While some fans agreed with Mahomes and couldn't believe that Shedeur hadn't been drafted, others disagreed that it was crazy and didn't think Shedeur should be drafted. Fans fired back. Why haven't the Chiefs drafted him? Someone asked pointedly. You know it's crazy when the best QB in the league has to comment on it, another user wrote. Others weren't so sympathetic. Perhaps he's not that good at football, one person wrote. But Mahomes wasn't alone. ESPN's Booger McFarland said during the NFL draft broadcast, it's gotta be about more than football. He's the best pure passer you can draft. When you start to see developmental projects like Jalen Milroe and Dillon Gabriel go before him, the only thing you can say is that it's more than football. Veteran NFL draft analyst Mel Kiper Jr. said, I think it's disgusting. I don't understand what the heck's going on with this. I don't see, outside of not having the rocket arm, what is he lacking? Somebody's gonna have to explain that one to me. Even former coach Nick Saban weighed in. Saban attributed Sanders' slide to his spotty offensive line at Colorado, as well as the negative rumors that had swirled over him throughout the draft process. People start talking, and behind the scenes, they create a reputation for somebody that may not even be what their reputation is, but everybody starts agreeing, and everybody starts believing it. And then there was the President of the United States, Mahomes, a 6-time Pro Bowler, 2-time regular season MVP, and 3-time Super Bowl champion and Super Bowl MVP, sent out a one-word message on social media, crazy. That message placed Mahomes alongside Donald Trump and Dak Prescott as the biggest voices weighing in on the Shedeur controversy. NFL team leaders like Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys and Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs were publicly questioning the draft process. For a man who had stayed out of public controversy for most of his career, Mahomes has historically been careful about what he says, but this time, even one word was enough. To understand why a single tweet from Patrick Mahomes carries so much weight, you have to understand who Patrick Mahomes is in the context of professional football, not just as a player, but as a cultural and commercial force, whose every utterance is dissected, amplified, and weaponized by millions across the sports media ecosystem. It has already been 9 years since the Kansas City Chiefs drafted Patrick Mahomes in the 2017 NFL Draft, and it's unlikely they regret the decision after winning 3 Super Bowls. Since taking over as the team's starting quarterback in 2018, Mahomes has led the Chiefs to 5 Super Bowls, winning 3. He is also a 6-time Pro Bowler and 2-time NFL MVP. Those numbers alone carve out a rarefied position in sports history. But Mahomes didn't arrive in Kansas City as a sure thing. Far from it. There was skepticism about Mahomes that spring. Not everywhere, but enough so that most people in the league thought there was no way he'd go in the top 10. The Chiefs had to make a bold move to get him. Brett Veach said a combination of a couple things worked in their favor. It wasn't easy to move from 27 to 10, but Buffalo at 10 just had a coaching change, and there was a good chance they wanted picks to put some pieces together. Plus, the teams that might have taken Mahomes were at 11, 12, 13, and so if they could get to 10, that seemed like a good spot to pick Patrick. And the reviews? Calling Mahomes a project is a major understatement. USA Today wrote in its first-round draft grade, "He's nowhere near ready to play in the NFL." And honestly, he may never be. Anyone who says now that it was clear from the beginning Kansas City made a great pick is lying. Former NFL quarterback Chris Sims was one of the rare voices who saw greatness coming. Sims said he felt a connection with Mahomes, as Sims was one of the first people to talk highly of Mahomes during the pre-draft process and even proclaimed that he should be the #1 pick. Sims recalled the reactions. "When I first said it, I had people in scouting departments like, 'What? Mahomes at #1? You're crazy.' But then after the fact, I found out that Sean Payton was about to trade up for Patrick Mahomes, and the Kansas City Chiefs one-upped them." Even the Saints head coach at the time, Sean Payton, was privately raving about Mahomes. Payton told guests at the Saints facility, "We really like this Patrick Mahomes kid. He's the steal of the draft." I'm not sure everyone knows that, but Mahomes fell to pick 10. The others that passed on Mahomes, Chicago, San Francisco, Jacksonville, Tennessee, and the Jets, have had their share of quarterback misadventures over the past 7 years. Drafting quarterbacks might be the most inexact science in all of sports, but the 9 teams that passed on Mahomes on April 27th, 2017, will remember the night for a long, long time. So when Mahomes, a man who lived through his own version of a draft day slight, a man who wrote an open letter to the NFL on draft day, addressing every criticism thrown his way, his quick rise to the top of pro football made any pre-draft doubt about his ability utterly obsolete. It made the end of his open letter prophetic. "I'm ready to start the journey to a championship," he wrote. When that man sees another quarterback sliding, ignored and passed over, and feels compelled to type even a single word, it carries profound significance. He knows exactly what it feels like to have scouts doubt you, to hear whispers that you'll never make it, to be called a project unworthy of a high pick. He wrote an entire letter about it before his career even started. And this is also a man who has historically guarded his public persona with extraordinary discipline. "I don't want to pressure anyone to vote for a certain president," Mahomes said. "I want people to use their voice, whoever they believe in." That's the Mahomes brand, measured non-controversial, above the fray, which made his decision to break that silence on draft night all the more jarring to people watching. Mahomes has earned some pull with the Chiefs brass over the years, which was confirmed by NFL insider and former quarterback Chris Sims. "I've been there in Kansas City. They ask him about everything because they know he's working and involved," Sims said. So his voice doesn't just carry weight on social media, it carries weight inside the building. To fully appreciate why Mahomes' reaction landed so hard, you need to understand the sheer magnitude of what happened to Shedeur Sanders during the 2025 NFL Draft, an event that has already been dubbed the Shedeur Slide, a phrase that entered the football lexicon almost immediately. Sanders was coming off a 2024 season with Colorado, in which he completed 353 of his 477 passes, 74%, for 4,134 yards, with 37 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. He finished 8th in Heisman Trophy voting and won the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year award. That production, combined with his famous last name, the son of Pro Football Hall of Famer and current Colorado head coach Deion "Primetime" Sanders, made Shedeur one of the most talked about prospects in recent draft memory. Some projections had him going first overall. Others saw him comfortably landing in the top 10 to 15 picks. Nobody credible projected him falling past the first round. Yet that's exactly what happened. The NFL draft always brings surprises, but few expected this one. As teams worked through the second and third rounds Friday night, fans and players alike watched in disbelief as Shedeur Sanders remained undrafted. While Shedeur was ignored, 102 players were drafted, including among them 5 quarterbacks. Players who were not nearly as polished as Sanders, developmental arms, dual threat projects, late risers. All heard their names called while the former number one projected pick sat in a room watching the TV. Only two quarterbacks, Cam Ward and Jackson Dart, went off the board during Thursday's first round. Many believed the Pittsburgh Steelers would snag Sanders with the 21st overall pick, but they passed. The Steelers instead chose a defensive player, and as day two unfolded, the bleeding only intensified. Passers like Tyler Shuv and Dylan Gabriel were taken by the Saints and Browns, respectively, before Sanders came off the board. The explanations offered by insiders painted a grim picture. ESPN's Adam Schefter attributed the lack of interest in the 23-year-old to several factors including poor interviews and differing team preferences. We've got an unprecedented slide, and everybody's trying to figure out exactly how this can be. We're hearing Shedeur didn't interview well. We're hearing that teams have different preferences. But it's still hard to imagine. It's inconceivable. The conspiracy theories multiplied like wildfire. The Shedeur slide was so notable that wild conspiracy theories were being birthed. Was it because of Deion Sanders' personality? Was it because teams feared the media circus that would follow? Was it something deeper, something uglier? Stephen A. Smith had major questions and compared Sanders' situation to Colin Kaepernick's. Skip Bayless highlighted how Tom Brady told the Las Vegas Raiders to pass on the Colorado quarterback. Through all the noise, through the anger and the theories and the hot takes, Sanders himself responded with composure. "I don't feel like this happened for no reason." Sanders said, "All this is of course fuel to the fire. Under no circumstance. We all know this shouldn't have happened, but we understand. We're on to bigger and better things. Tomorrow's the day. We're going to be happy regardless." And hovering above the entire scene was that one-word message from the best quarterback in the world. Crazy. There's another layer to this story that makes Mahomes' draft commentary even more fascinating. When he typed that word on his phone at 11 p.m. on a Friday night, he wasn't doing it as the reigning Super Bowl champion, riding a wave of dominance. He was doing it as a man recovering from a torn ACL, watching his franchise reel from its worst season in over a decade. The 2025 season was the Kansas City Chiefs' 56th in the NFL. The Chiefs entered the season as three-time defending AFC champions, hoping to reach their fourth consecutive Super Bowl and rebound from their Super Bowl loss against the Philadelphia Eagles. However, this season would become a major disappointment, marred by injuries and close losses. The Chiefs failed to win the AFC West for the first time since 2015, missed the playoffs for the first time since 2014, and finished with a losing record for the first time since 2012. The collapse was as sudden as it was thorough. The Chiefs failed to improve on their franchise-best 15-2 record from 2024, as they started 0-2 for the first time since 2014. The team only won consecutive games in weeks 3-4 and weeks 6-8. The first time under Reid, they did not win at least 4 straight regular season games. The team dropped to an 0-3 record in one-score games, after going 11-0 in one-score games the previous season. Those razor-thin margins that had always tilted in Kansas City's favor suddenly reversed completely. The magic was gone. Despite ranking in the top 10 in both points and yards allowed, the clearest shortcoming of the Chiefs' defense was its inability to get to opposing quarterbacks. The Chiefs recorded 30 sacks as a team, but 11 of those came from either Chris Jones or George Karlaftis, the only two established players on the defensive front. And the offense, while the Chiefs' average yards per rush actually increased from 4.0 to 4.2. A good portion of that number could be credited to Patrick Mahomes' scrambling ability. Among Chiefs players who had carried the ball at least 20 times, Mahomes' yards per carry led by an astronomical margin, averaging 6.6 yards on 64 rushing attempts. That reliance on Mahomes doing everything, running, throwing, extending plays, willing the team forward through sheer force of talent, eventually took its toll in the most devastating way imaginable. On December 14th against the Chargers, Patrick Mahomes suffered a torn ACL and LCL, ending his 2025 season and potentially impacting his status for 2026. After suffering a brutal knee injury in the last few minutes of the loss to the Los Angeles Chargers, Mahomes was helped off the field to the locker room. Mahomes wasted no time in beginning his comeback, undergoing surgery Monday evening in Dallas. To repair the ACL, he tore one day earlier in Kansas City. It can often be weeks before a player undergoes such a procedure. It's the clearest sign that Mahomes is already focused on recovering as soon as humanly possible. Mahomes posted a message to fans. "Don't know why this had to happen. And not going to lie, it hurts. But all we can do now is trust in God and attack every single day over and over again. Thank you, Chiefs Kingdom, for always supporting me. And for everyone who has reached out and sent prayers." The Chiefs finished out their season on a 6-game losing streak, closing out 6-11. The Chiefs won just 6 games and missed the playoffs. For the first time since Mahomes took the reins as the team's starting quarterback, the dynasty, at least temporarily, was in ruins. The close games the Chiefs won in recent years turned into defeats. Star quarterback Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL. When the dust settled, the Chiefs were 6-11, their worst season since 2012. So when Mahomes sat at home recovering from knee surgery, watching the draft unfold, and saw a talented quarterback get treated like an afterthought, it clearly struck a nerve. Mahomes' one-word reaction to the draft didn't result in a formal suspension from the NFL. That much needs to be said clearly. The league did not discipline him for his social media post. No fine was issued. No games were taken away. But the reaction from fans, media, and the broader football ecosystem treated his words as though they carried that kind of institutional weight, because in many ways they did. The discourse that followed his tweet tore through every corner of sports media. People debated whether active players should publicly comment on draft proceedings, whether Mahomes was inserting himself into a situation that could undermine the integrity of team scouting processes, and whether his status as the league's premier quarterback made his commentary an implicit criticism of every general manager who passed on Shedeur Sanders. No matter what happens on day 3 for Kansas City or any other team in the league, Sanders falling as far as he had without any major legal concerns would become the main story. The 2025 NFL Draft will always be known for, and Mahomes wasn't the only one who felt this way. NFL team leaders like Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys and Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs were publicly reacting. Sports fans stopped to watch and comment on the Shedeur Sanders situation. Meanwhile, the Chiefs were already deep into off-season planning, with Mahomes' torn knee driving every calculation. The Kansas City Chiefs find themselves in an unlikely position as the NFL Draft nears, needing to replenish after a non-playoff season, while Patrick Mahomes faces an uncertain future. Bleacher Report's Gary Davenport identified the teams facing the most pressure to nail the upcoming draft, warning that the Chiefs will need to quickly rebuild. He also warned that the uncertainty of Mahomes' injury and rehab has cast a cloud over the team's offseason. The 2026 NFL Draft will be a crucial one for the Kansas City Chiefs. Things fell apart for them in 2025, resulting in an unforeseen 6-11 record. The Chiefs then lost many key starters throughout their roster during free agency. They have signed several new players and also made a few notable changes in the coaching staff. It seems as though Kansas City is on the right track to turn things around, but the biggest piece of the puzzle is still to come. The Chiefs have 9 selections in this year's draft, and they need to hit on several of them if they are going to return to prominence in 2026. The Chiefs have some unusually high assets to work with, including the number 9 overall pick and another first-rounder, number 29, that they earned in the Trent McDuffie trade. The Chiefs are expected to immediately replenish the offense in this week's draft, with several mock drafts predicting they will select wide receiver Jordan Tyson with the number 9 overall pick. ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr. noted he could be an important asset for Mahomes. Chiefs Vice President of Sports Medicine and Performance Rick Burkholder revealed a potential timeline for Mahomes at around 9 months, which puts him in position to return for Week 1 of the 2026 NFL season. However, Burkholder isn't putting it past Mahomes to be ready even sooner than the 9-month threshold. I think you guys know, as a player, his mindset is a little different than most. Burkholder said, "He's so regimented in what he does. He's in here at 6 a.m. He's the last guy out at night. He'll take the rehab like that. When you add up all the little things that allows the player to get back faster, they don't heal up faster. They just get back to performance faster." And now the Chiefs face the 2026 NFL Draft happening this week in Pittsburgh. With the weight of an entire rebuild on their shoulders, the 2026 NFL Draft will be held in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, from April 23 to 25, 2026. Mahomes has even influenced how the entire league thinks about drafting quarterbacks going forward. According to Fox Sports reporter Henry McKenna, Mahomes' success has helped reshape expectations for quarterbacks, which may be affecting the level of attention surrounding projected top picks. McKenna explained that Mahomes' rise has shifted how teams evaluate quarterbacks, pointing to a broader league-wide move toward dual-threat players who can extend plays. An NFL general manager put it plainly, "Mahomes definitely inspired a lot of people to find a guy like that. I think everybody's trying to kind of get away from the stationary quarterback, the traditional pocket quarterback, because of the way these defensive fronts are nowadays." So here's where we land on all of this. Did the NFL suspend Patrick Mahomes after what he said about the draft? No, there was no suspension, no fine, and no formal league discipline for his crazy tweet about the Shedeur Sanders slide. What actually happened is that the most influential quarterback in football used a single word to wade into the biggest controversy of the 2025 NFL draft. And in doing so, he amplified a conversation about fairness, scouting biases, and how the league evaluates talent that had already been raging across the sport. Sanders coming into the NFL with a vote of confidence and support from the best quarterback in the league could help him get his trademark mojo back. Mahomes spoke up because he's been where Shedeur was. He knows what it's like to be doubted, to be labeled a project, to watch lesser-regarded players get picked ahead of you. He went through it in 2017, and he answered every single critic with 3 Super Bowl rings, 2 MVPs, and a career that may end up being the greatest a quarterback has ever had. The suspension people are talking about, that's the court of public opinion. And in that court, Patrick Mahomes refused to stay quiet.